Hi everybody, I'm Stacy. I'm a registered nurse. Welcome back to my channel, My Life in Scrubs, where I like to talk about things that have happened in my career, my nursing journey, and share my experiences. And if I can help one person, then encountered, then I've accomplished my goal. I think that I would like to talk about, I've been talking about difficult things lately. Let's talk about how about those times when we get fired by our patients? So as a nurse, sometimes when you are taking care of people, the fact is, no matter how good of a person you think you are or how good you are at your job, there's going to be people that do not like you. And this is just that simple. There's going to be people that won't take a medication from you. There's going to be people that won't cooperate with you. And there's going to be people that do not jive with your personality. And the first time it happens, it's going to hurt your feelings. Maybe those kinds of things don't hurt your feelings, but I'm a pretty sensitive person. And I think the first few times that I encountered a patient who didn't like me, it really hurt my feelings and I wondered what I did wrong. And in one instance, when you're taking care of people with memory deficits, I don't think it hurts my feelings too much. I mean, it's a little disappointing, especially if Betsy likes you for 3 days and now the 4th day you come in and she is ready to beat you. She's not going to take pills from you. You're not going to touch her, and you stole her husband today. So sometimes in dementia and memory deficit care, you're going to encounter people that like you half the time and half the other time they don't want anything to do with you, and that's just the way it is. And I think I can accept that, because I feel like in those cases, maybe Sue thinks I stole her baby and I can't convince her that her baby's not here. And I gotta say, I love working with people in memory care. I think that was an area that I was scared of before, but as a sidetrack, I love working with people in memory care because it's never a dull moment. Even those bad moments, you still want to go to work the next day when you're taking care of people in memory care, but it is high stress and you do need a break. You definitely need a break from dealing with that every day. But there was a lot of days when I was passing medications or being a nurse in a memory care setting, and those patients loved me 85% of the time, and then there was that other 15% where they just weren't going to have me and I had to get somebody else to help me. But when you're dealing with people that are in their right mind and they don't like you, it hurts sometimes. I've had patients that just simply do not like me, and anything I say is going to be taken offensively. How do you deal with that? Well, I would say to you, don't take it personal. I mean, I took it personally the first couple of times that happened to me. I did, because I was like, well, I was nice and I did what I was supposed to do. But again, there's just people that aren't going to jive with you. And I will tell you that there was an instance where I really liked the patient that I was taking care of, but the family just didn't like me. They didn't jive with my personality and they didn't like me. And I thought we were getting along great. I didn't think there was ever a problem. And my manager called me and said, Stacy, these people, they don't want you to be their nurse anymore. And I said, oh my God, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And he was great. He was a military man, and he is hilarious, and his sense of humor could be a little bit dry. But he said something that made me maybe take it a little easier. He said, I don't know, maybe because your hair is black. And he was just saying there really is no rhyme or reason to it. They don't like you and they want a different nurse. And I had to accept that. They didn't like me and they wanted a different nurse, despite the fact that I was doing everything that I thought was best. And in this particular case, those people had fired many other nurses. They had a particular nurse that they liked, and they weren't going to be satisfied with anyone but that nurse. And sometimes, well, that's the way it is in healthcare. Sometimes people don't like you and they don't want you to give them their care. And I would say, don't take it personally. People tell you not to take things personally all your life. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Well, it's really not personal. It's really not personal. Um, Unless it is. But generally in healthcare, it's not that personal. Sometimes a person just doesn't like, maybe you're too cheerful, maybe you're too nice, maybe you come in too early in the morning to give them their medicine, you know. Nobody should take it personal. You know, I think as nurses, we sometimes are hard on ourselves if somebody doesn't like us, or they ask us not to be their nurse anymore. But sometimes people are just really difficult to please. You know, sometimes you can't make somebody happy. And I found that it wasn't just me that sometimes people had a problem with. So you also have to look at the bigger picture. Sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes it's just the patient. That's just the way they feel. They don't like too many people. And I think, you know, as people, we feel that way too, right? Like there's people we don't like out in the world. There's people we don't want to associate with. There's probably healthcare professionals that we wouldn't want to take care of us, or that we wouldn't jive with as a patient caregiver situation. So I think when you're a brand new nurse and you're young, I think those things really hurt your feelings. And heck, I'm not young, and it can still hurt my feelings sometimes, especially if it's somebody that I've been seeing for several weeks. You know, you put a lot of time into somebody, you think you're doing the right thing, you think you're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. They're smiling at you, they're conversing with you, and when you leave, they hate your guts. They just don't like you. And that's just the way it is. And I think your skin gets a little tough when you're a nurse over time, because you just get used to the idea that sometimes you're going to have to call on your coworker to take on the person that doesn't like you. Sometimes it just has to be that way, because sometimes it be like that, right? Like that song says, sometimes it be like that. And that is a fact. Sometimes you can't win. There's been times in my career where a patient, like I said, a patient really liked me, and maybe the family wasn't very involved in the patient's day-to-day routine, but when the family became involved, they didn't like me. And I was reassigned. I've been reassigned plenty of times in my career. Not often, but often enough that it hurt my feelings the first few times. So when people tell you not to take things personally, that's hard, because I think most of us as nurses are pretty compassionate and sensitive people. I think I've very few times encountered a nurse that isn't sensitive and kind in her heart. I think I've a few times encountered nurses that are more hard and tough, and maybe they're at my age and my stage of the career and things don't bother them as much anymore. But us nurses, we tend to get in our feelings sometimes, and I think it would be hard to not take it personally sometimes, especially when you put the time and effort in. And I know most nurses make a lot of effort to go above and beyond for our patients, despite what the public might think. Or, you know, sometimes the public has a very nasty negative attitude about nurses as well, because unfortunately one bad experience can ruin it for the rest of us, and that's a fact. I think in general nurses are kind and compassionate, and we want to do the best we can do for our patients. We oftentimes do above and beyond, because that's just who we are. We don't want you to be in pain. We want you to be comfortable. We want you to feel good. We don't want you to have these symptoms making your life miserable. And we're people too. So we feel what you feel when we don't feel good too. I don't know. I have had a lot of times when my feelings were hurt throughout my career, honestly, but more so in my younger years. Sometimes you're doing everything right, and a family member will go to your manager and complain about you and say that you aren't doing everything right. And that happens sometimes too. Sometimes people will say things the way they perceive it, and you're not going to perceive it the way they perceive it. So in those cases, I would say, as a nurse, it's always so important to document what you do, to do what you do as you would do it for everyone. And at the end of the day, if you didn't make somebody happy, or they didn't like your personality, or they simply just didn't want you as their nurse, you can be happy knowing that you did everything that you were supposed to do as a nurse and just go on about your life. Because sometimes those patients that don't like you, or their families that don't like you, can really make your day hard. And so just think of it as one less challenge for the day. I mean, who doesn't love a good challenge, right? But I think it's important when you experience negativity to find something positive about it. And sometimes that's hard to do, because I think we all think we're doing the right thing. We're saying the right thing. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. And it stings a little when you hear otherwise. But the cliche of cliches is, don't take it personal. I'd love to hear about a time that you had an experience that that hurt your feelings, or where a patient didn't like you, and how did you handle that? What did you do about it? What were some things that helped you to get past feeling bad about it? I would love to hear about that. So please feel free to share with me in the comments your experiences, and I would love to hear any questions. I would love to talk about anything that you might have questions about. And if you like my channel, I would love it if you would consider liking, subscribing, and following. And I hope to see you soon.